So just a reminder, today what I've been enjoying doing is doing a text study that sets the stage for what I'll be speaking about during Rosh HaShannah, during Yom Kippur. So this is more of a text study. There's going to be 2 times when we'll have chavruta, where you'll turn to a partner next to you that you know, or someone that you don't know even better, and share. So, and the chavruta is marked in your sheets. So first I'm going to begin with a story, because I like stories. I've told you before that I thought when I was a little kid that all rabbis did was tell stories, right? All right, so once there was this simple man who each morning had a difficult time remembering where he left his clothes the night before. And so one night he got this brilliant idea. He got a pencil and a piece of paper, and he wrote down where he placed each article of clothing. And he left the list next to his bed, and he thought to himself, tomorrow I'll have no trouble finding my clothes. And so he woke up the next morning, pleased with himself. He took the note and he followed it to a T, finding each piece of clothing. Right shirt, I found it. Here it is. Pants, here they are. And hat, hat. And soon he was completely dressed. And suddenly he was seized with this terrible thought. But where am I? Where in the world am I? And he looked everywhere and he couldn't find himself. This year, no joke, we've lost ourselves. Yes, we may know where we are right now, where we live, and how we spend our days, but we're lost. And we can't pick up a piece of paper to figure out that and tells us to find ourselves in this topsy-turvy, unmoored, violent, and unpredictable world. This morning and on Yom Kippur, I'd like to examine what we've lost over the past 3 years and find our way back. Naturally, where do I go to find direction? I turned to the laws of lost and found, which, believe it or not, are in the Talmud. The Talmud is many, many different Missaghieh, many different volumes, and there's an entire volume, because we Jews are neurotic, all about lost and found items. You can look at the top of your sheet. You can see that this is a text from the Tosefta, which is additional material that didn't make it into the Talmud, but is a part of the Mishnah. And the Tosefta teaches that one who steals from the masses is obligated to return the object to the masses. And then it says that stealing from the masses is even more severe than stealing from just one individual. Why? Because one who steals just from one individual can appease that person, that one individual, and give them back the stolen object. But one who steals from the masses is unable to appease them and to return to them their stolen object. Wow, a lot's been stolen and lost from all of us this past year. And I'd like you in your first chavruta to take 2 minutes, just 1 minute a person, and answer any of the questions I've listed. What have you personally lost this year? And I'm not talking about your keys in your iPhone. What has America lost? And what have we as Jews lost? Turn to a person next to you and reflect on any of those questions. Okay, let's come back together. Come back together. Shh. Okay, let me hear from you. What are some of the things that we've either lost individually as Americans or as Jews? Raise your hand. What? Security. Thank you. What else have we lost? Solidarity, yes. What else? Moral high ground, yes. The rule of law, yes. We've lost our naivete. Beautiful, yes. What else? Clarity. Love. Sense of pride in our country. Friendships. Compassion. Congruity with the prayers that we say. Yeah, keeping up with everything that's going on. These are all of the things that we've lost. And how do we get through these losses? On Rosh HaShannah and Yom Kippur, we recite the Unatana Tokef that Rafi beautifully spoke about. Who shall live and who shall die? And then we say this famous line, Utshuva, Utfila, Utsadaka, Ma'averin et Roa HaGezerah. And then repentance, prayer, and loving kindness. I love this word, Ma'averin. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean that we wave a magic wand and everything goes away. Ma'averin comes from the Hebrew word aver, which means to pass through, to withstand, to somehow deal with the harsh realities of life. We can only open up our toolbox and use these three things that may help us in this difficult world. And it's hard to figure out our way through everything as we Americans and Jews and personally are suffering in our intimate relationships with our friends, at work, in our government, and on, as we've said. Recently, I was visiting a TIOH member in her late 90s. I hope she's watching from home. And she said to me, Michelle, I don't understand how this country has gotten into the mess that we're in. I just don't get it. And I reminded her that it's not just our country. It's Putin in Russia. It's Xi Jinping in China. It's Bibi in Israel. We're living in a scary world now where people pick up guns to kill people that they disagree with, where people debate by demeaning them. And we throw up our hands in exhaustion when the next horrific act comes from us out of the White House. But here's the good news. The good news is this isn't the first time in history that we've been deeply troubled or confused. The Rambam Maimonides tells a beautiful story of one of his students who was dying. And he says to him, can you do me a favor? When you die and you pass over to the other side, can you please come back to me in a dream? And when you come back, would you please explain to me why bad things happen to good people and why vice versa, good people suffer? And sure enough, the student dies, and he does come back to Rambam in a dream. And he says to Rambam in the dream, you know, when I was on the other side, it all made sense. I had it all figured out. But now that I've come back to you, I'm here visiting you, everything is confusing and mixed up. I know that we're not living in a dream right now, but it feels dangerously terrifying. And on top of that, I feel literally disgusted and at times enraged by the world's horrors. But there's a problem with my anger. In the Talmud, we learn that Rabbi Hanina would not pray on a day he was angry. And Rambam himself teaches that one should not stand in prayer in the midst of laughter or irreverent behavior, or in the midst of a conversation or an argument, or in anger. But you can always find a rabbi that gives you other advice, right? Rabbi Tzvi Hirschfield, he's on faculty at Pardes in Jerusalem. And a year after October 7th, he wrote the following: "This year is particularly difficult because I'm filled with anger. I'm angry at the world, at the enemies of the Jewish people, at failed leadership, and especially at God." And then he quotes Netivot Shalom, who taught that Rosh Hashanah is not about judgment of the previous year. That's Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah today, it's about announcing that we've all agreed that God and us, we're not going to give up. And he says, this approach, it won't resolve my anger. And it won't make me any wiser in terms of how God runs the world. But it might help me transform my prayers into not giving up hope for a better future. I also love what the Israeli novelist and peace activist David Grossman wrote in 2004. He said the battle lines today are not drawn between Israelis and Palestinians, but rather between those who are unwilling to come to terms with despair and those who wish to turn despair into a way of life. And then 2 years later, he eulogized his son, Uri, who was killed in 2006 in the Lebanon War. And he said, I learned from Uri that we need to defend ourselves, but we need to defend two parts of ourselves, our bodies, and also we need to not surrender our souls, not to surrender to the temptations of force and simplistic thinking, to the corruption of cynicism, not to surrender to the boorishness and contempt of others, which are the real great curses of a person who lives in a disaster area like ours. He's talking about Israel. I'm not willing to live in a place of despair. I just won't do it. I won't give up. And I think the fact that you're all here and you're watching on video means that you're not willing to give up either. In the Talmud, we learn that Rabbi Alexandri would finish his prayers by saying, "May it be your will, God, that you place us in a lit corner, not a darkened corner, and do not let our hearts become faint nor our eyes dim, in order for us to find what we've lost, all the things we just said and what we've kept in our hearts. We need to be in a place of light. And our hearts and our eyes need to be bright." For your final chavruta, turn to the same person or a different person and share your response to one of the two questions. Who helps you not fall into a place of despair? And how do you create places of light in your life? Turn about 2 minutes, 1 minute a person. Okay, let's come back together. Shh. Okay, who helps you find places of light? Or how do you create places of light for yourself? In community. In nature, yeah. Yoga, beautiful. Finding places to laugh, yes. Having purpose. Singing. I didn't hear. With her dog. Beautiful. Shabbat. Yeah, right here. Meditation. Beautiful. Beautiful. Living through it. Yep. Your kids. Beautiful. Yeah. Cooking. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. These are all skills that we need to sort of open up that toolbox to explore and exercise and really be a part of. I want to close with two final texts. Dr. Benjamin Mays was the president of Morehouse College from 1940 to 1967, and he was a mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He once said that the tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach. It isn't a calamity to die with dreams unfilled, but it is a calamity not to dream. It's not a disgrace not to reach for the stars, but it is a disgrace to have no stars to reach for. Not failure, but low aim is a sin. And remember what the environmentalist David Orr teaches. Hope is a verb with its sleeves rolled up. So now's our time to roll up our sleeves. It may take patience and perseverance, but despair is a luxury we cannot afford. We will find our way back.